on a good one. I'm working on a good one. Working on a good one. A good one. Put the money on me. Smoking on a good one.
Hey guys, this is Ben, aka SoleMate, and welcome to Volume 1 of my brand new segment that I'm calling Sneakers and Such. So I'm sure you guys are wondering, what is Sneakers and Such, and why are you calling this Sneakers and Such? It's actually pretty simple. So oftentimes I find myself having random thoughts, random ideas about sneakers and such. So there's the name for you guys. And what I want to do is I want to get out the camera and kind of share these thoughts and ideas with you, elaborate on them, explain them, whatever, because I know that I'm not the only one thinking these things. And today, by example, video number 1 is going to be on this new term that I've been seeing in the last year, which is remastering or remastered. And kind of what we've seen for Jordan releases in the past, anytime we see like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, released, we're seeing the word retro 1, retro 2, retro 3. Right, we've seen the word retro for a million years, it feels like. And all of a sudden now I'm starting to see this change that Nike's making, which is they're using the word remastered or remastering, whatever. I know I'm not the only one who's noticed this. I'm sure a lot of you guys have too. So at first I thought it was kind of harmless. I'm like, all right, whatever, they're just changing a word. But then I started to look into it a little bit more, and it seems like Nike's actually making a transition from this term retro to remastering. And what we've seen with some of the shoe releases this year so far, it's backing that up, this kind of theory that I have about it. So I want to share that with you guys, and basically what I did is I pulled out 2 OG Colorway 5s that are going to be really, really helpful for me to kind of explain this when I looked into it more. So it's not too complicated, but I just want to take a few minutes and talk about it because, like I said, I know I'm the only one who hasn't been thinking this. So anyways, yeah. Let's go ahead and get started. Retroing versus remastering. Retroing versus remastering. So let's go ahead and break this thing down. I think the easiest way to explain this by example is going to be to use 2 OG colorways of the same Air Jordan model. It's going to make this explanation really simple, really easy to do. So just to say, I guess, is that each one of these shoes I have in front of me is going to either represent retroing or it's going to represent remastering. So I have here 2016 release Black Metallic 5, just came out on July 23rd. It's still super fresh, but this is going to represent remastering for us, okay? So then in contrary to that, of course, here we have the 2013 White Grape 5, and this is going to be our retroing example. So when I say retroing or when I say remastering, I'm sure a lot of you are wondering, like, what do you really mean by that? So basically, to put it in simple terms, is when I'm talking about retroing, I'm talking about taking an icon or a classic, something like that, and you're basically trying to reimagine it. You're using it as kind of inspiration, kind of like a template. It's a starting point for you. So you're kind of looking at it, you want to make it again, but maybe you're not trying to carbon copy it, and what you want is to just use it as a starting place, use it as a a guideline, but make little tweaks here and there to it. So in contrary to that, like I said, here's the Black Metallic 5. This is remastering, right? So the goal of this is not to reimagine a classic. The goal of this is to recreate it. You want to make it as close as possible to that original. You want it to be the best representation of that classic or that icon, whatever you want to call it. So the reason why these 2 shoes are really good examples of this is because both of these, like I said, are OG colorways. They both came out in 1990, and in 1990 they all had a certain styling aspect to it that was unique amongst them. And the difference between remastering and retroing is that retroing, it's going to have some differences. It's not going to be identical or being very close to identical as that original release. So 1990 White Grape 5 versus the 2013 White Grape 5, we're going to see some differences. Now, the 2016 Black Metallic 5 versus the 1990 Black Metallic 5 are going to be, obviously, if they were both brand new and you put them next to each other, they're going to be tough to, distinguish. So I guess, we can just go ahead and just kind of talk about some of these differences, what makes it retroing versus remastering. So obviously, with the Black Metallic 5, if you're not familiar, this was a big deal for the Air Jordan 5 because since the original retroing, they brought Nike Air back to the shoe, right? So this was a huge, huge, huge deal because people finally got back that originality from the shoe that it lost through years of retroing. Now, here it is in contrast. Rather than having a Nike Air logo, We've got an emerald Jumpman instead. That's the first noticeable difference. So were this remastered or were this a 1990 OG, this would have an emerald Nike Air logo rather than a Jumpman. So look, I get it, like once Nike and Jordan Brand kind of started to just distinguish themselves a little bit differently, Jordan Brand took on the Jumpman as its logo. That was its, its marketing image and so forth. Like you can see in my closet, I got my old Royal 10s, alternate 89 4s back here, Jumpman. I mean, it's definitely how they represent the brand. That's their logo. Look, I get it, no big deal. But in doing so, they kind of lost a little bit of the originality that the shoes, had. That's the reason why we buy these shoes, obviously, is because we like that they represent the originals. Now, I'm not going to go out and say that, okay, like the Grape 5 here, for example, isn't retro or it doesn't deserve to be called, a Jordan or whatever. I'm not saying that. Basically, just what I'm trying to say is that they did some little tweaks to it to kind of market their brand a little bit, which is, again, I get it. I totally get it. It's a marketing gimmick. I got it. No reason really to talk about it more. So, like I said, when I'm talking about remastering, I'm talking about you're trying to get as close to that original as possible, retroing, reimagining that classic. Okay, so the differences that are going to make this remastering versus retroing is that, like I said, I already pointed out this Nike Air logo, right? This is OG. This is what it had when it first came out. This is what the shoe looked like. It had this, as opposed to, of course, the Jumpman. Now, like I said, were this remastered or were this OG, this would have a Nike Air logo. Another place where we see the difference is on the sole of the black metallic 5, kind of on the heel arch, we have a Nike logo. So in contrast to that, on our Grape 5 here, we got a Jordan logo. Okay. Another place, it's going to be a little bit tougher to point out, but if you take a look at our lace locks, we got the Nike logo, you can see right there. Okay. So, and again, another take on it is here they put the Jumpman logo. I want to make sure you guys can see that. It's a little bit tougher to see, obviously, because they're clear and so forth, but you can see it, it's right there. So, you got Jumpman versus Nike in a lot of places. Another aspect here, you got your Air Jordan tag on the tongue, sewn upside down and pretty close up to the top. Contrast to that, once again, we have, okay, obviously we got an Air Jordan tag, but it is sewn upright and it's further down on the tongue. So, those are the things that I'm pointing out when I'm saying, retroing versus remastering. That's what I mean. So Nike now, like I was talking about before, is this new term that they're doing, they're using the word remastering, not retroing, is because they're kind of trying to brand this as that they are recreating the classic. They are reviving it. They're bringing it back. They are getting it as close as possible as, to how it looked, 20-some years ago. So that's when I'm talking about that. That's what I mean, and especially like for those of you that were just kind of confused about this terminology that Nike started using, that's what they're trying to get at. So yeah, I wanted to make this quick, quick video just to kind of explain it a little bit and obviously give a real world example of what that actually looks like. So you're probably going to be seeing that more, the word remastering. More from Nike in the future. And another kind of quick example of that, you can see I got my 8s, Aqua 8s back in there. When those came out on Black Friday in 2015, they were calling it the remastered, Aqua 8. They were calling it remastered because they said it was closer to the original than ever. The 07 release, comparing of course the 2015 to the 07, it was, apparent which one was closer to the original and which one wasn't. So that's what Nike's trying to get into, or I guess Jordan Brand is, trying to get into now. And I applaud them for it because that's definitely what we want to see. We want to see these shoes get as close to the original as possible. So anyways, yeah, there's the example of it. All right, I hope that kind of clears things up. If any of you kind of had a question about that, that word remastering and how it compares to retroing. Hopefully you found it useful. Hopefully you learned something. If not, well, let's say I tried at least, or you're just probably smarter than me and you already knew it. So that's that video, and that is volume 1 of Sneakers and Such. I'm sure I'm going to be doing a million more of these videos in the future because like I said, I have random thoughts, random ideas, whatever. I want to share it. I want to kind of record it, explain it, describe it, whatever it is. I'll be doing a few more of these, you know, in the future, but you know, this is one that I thought would be nice to start with and just kind of explain some of this terminology that Nike's and you know, Jordan Brandon's been using. So anyways, thank you guys a lot for watching. I appreciate it. The support so far has been really great, you know, especially for me starting out. And you know, it means all the world to me. The subscribers I already have, you know, much love, thank you. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe if you find that you like my videos. But you know, it's always appreciated. So anyways, as always, we'll definitely see you next time. Thanks for watching.